Okay. I am live. I'm live, guys. How's it going? This is Cybervolt. How's it going today, guys? I'm doing a private stream. I just wanted to shoot the shit. I'm 40 years old, guys. 40 years old. I grew up through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s and 10s, and the 2000s. And now we're at the 2020s. Wow. It goes by fast, guys. It goes by kind of slow, too. It goes both ways, however you see it. Some decades go fast, some go slow. The first 10 years out of my life, I remember a lot of it. I remember the first 10 years out of my life, guys. I grew up with a good family. Pretty good family, both sides. You know, my mother's side, they're white. And my father's side are mixed, you know, black and Hispanic culture. So I got to experience life from two different lenses. And it's been good, you know. The family's pretty good, pretty big family on both sides. And it was good to learn a lot from my families during this time. And I have a sister. And we grew up together. And the first 10 years out of my life, I remember one of my most vivid memories is my sister. When she was born, I remember her in one of those little, I guess you can say, the little holding tanks. I want to call it holding tanks. Incubators, I don't know, something. You know, when you're first born, you go into these little cribs. And I was able to, I guess, visit my sister. I just remember this. And she had these little things on her nose. And I don't remember what they were. But I think I remember taking one out of my sister's nose. And I remember that. I think I remember being born or something like that. I remember seeing my family through a glass-paned window. I don't know if it was a dream or something, but it's like a memory of some sort. I do remember my mother trying to teach me how to read. Curious George. Curious George was one of the books. There was another story, Dr. Seuss, I remember that. Berenstein Bears. Oh, I love them. Berenstein Bears. They were so cool. A lot of good memories, man. And my grandfather, he was a fisherman, so when I was 6 years old or 5 years old, I was actually allowed to go on his fishing boat while he was doing his lobstering. I used to go onto the pier with him and go into the boat, or sometimes I go on into the dinghy. It's a little skiff, you know. You row out to the big boat on the marsh, and I remember all that. I remember the smell of the motor. I remember some of the motors kind of not working. Going out on the open ocean with my grandfather, that was fun. I remember losing a lot of fishing poles. Yeah. Fishing for mackerel while he was when he was bringing up lobster traps. So yeah, I mean, those are good memories, man. Then I got into Nintendo. Oh, I remember getting that Nintendo, man. I remember Nintendo. I remember some of the school activities in first and second grade. I remember very little bit of kindergarten, just little images here and there. I remember being in the hospital. I had some kind of breathing problem. I forgot what it was. It was like pneumonia of some sort. And I was on breathing tubes, and I had IVs in my arm. And I was bad. I was pulling them out, and I remember seeing blood coming out. And when you're young, when you see your own blood, it's a lot. You know, when you see your own blood, you perceive it. Or for me, I did. I saw it to be a lot of blood, man. I was pulling things out my arm, and I was trying to run away and run around the nursing centers. I vividly remember what it looks like, too. And I had a favorite bear. And I lost it there. And it never was found again. This bird's being a pain in the butt. So, yeah, that's the thing I remember. I never got that bear back. Yeah, so I remember that, and I think I still have paperwork of all of that my father kept, and I have it now, of what was going on. But I'm fine. I used to have a lot of issues growing up throwing up. I threw up a lot. I don't know why, but I threw up a lot when I was younger. I hated it. Obviously, I can't handle it. But I think I grew out of it. I haven't thrown up since, I don't even remember. I would say 10. That's the last time I threw up. 10 or 11. I'm very thankful because to me that just reminds me of how life was when I was younger. Is that sicknesses. But good now, so yeah, a lot of memories. I remember times going to school. I had a hard time in school. I was in a lot of special classes. I had some issues, I guess, and I don't remember what they were. I don't even know if it was even explained to me. I think it might be ADHD or something like that. Maybe bipolar. I don't know. I don't have that diagnosis, but to the life of me, I don't remember why I was in those special classes. I was away from the normal classes for the most part. And in high school, I actually, I kind of, not kind of, but I got really defensive about that. I was pretty angry about that. But anyways, the first 10 years of my life was good, and then through the 90s and 2000s, that's when it picked up. That's when I was maturing. I was getting into women like really big time. I watch Baywatch, Price is Right, and you see girls with big mama jammas, and it's like, wow, like you just feel that the hormones kicking in. You feel your voice starting to get deeper, and it's really awesome, just feeling all that. And I remember my parents, they weren't getting along during this time. They weren't really getting along too much, and there were some good days, a lot of bad days though. And my dad was pretty, I don't know. I think he sheltered me a lot when I was younger. He sheltered me, my sister and I. And there was a lot of activities I wanted to do, and I couldn't do it. So I missed out a lot of opportunities compared to what other people might have experienced growing up. But I do remember, a lot of good things, being sheltered. I was getting into artwork. I was learning how to draw. I was into movies. I was trying to practice filmmaking during this time. I had a little camcorder. I think what happened was I had a job. So I had my first job in the mid-90s, and I was able to save up for my first camcorder. And I remember getting this at Sears. And then so I started practicing filmmaking and putting music to it, by somehow taking adapters from my cassette player and rerouting it into the VCR and plugging in my camera into the VCR at the same time too. So you're kind of doing video editing live, which was kind of weird. You had to pause the tape and place the video or play the video through the camcorder to the point where you want it to start. It was a process back then, but I did it. Video games were big with me. Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega CD. I was into that, man. I was really into that. My sister and I played a lot of that. So it was a lot of fun and games during this time, but things happened. A lot of things happened for the worse. I think my life changed at this certain moment. First of all, my grandfather died. And he was a big figure in my life. He was a very big figure in my life during this time. I wouldn't say more so than my dad, but he was more, I don't know, showing me more of the way of the world, more freely than my dad did. I still love my dad and everything, especially during that time. But he passed away. He was very important to me. And that was my first death. And then, you gotta get used to that and all that. And then my great-grandfather passed away. My great-grandmother passed away. And I think that's within 2 years' time, guys. And then something happened. My mother died. And I remember this vividly. I was in the room opposite of how it happened. And I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 4:30 in the morning. And I hear this moaning noise in the other room. And I thought it was my mother and my father, doing things, because I could hear that when that did happen. It sounded like that, okay? And I knocked on the door. I didn't hear anything. I continued to hear that. I needed to go to the bathroom so freaking bad. And where I was living, I had to get out of the room, cross the living room, and then go to the bathroom. We lived in a very small space, and my mother and father basically slept in that living room, and my sister and I slept in I guess you can call it the bedroom. It was a very, very small place. It was like a cottage for a good 20 years of my life, guys. Anyways, I could hear this moaning noise, and I was like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. I go out there. I see my mother kneeling on the couch. She was kneeling on the couch. She was rocking back and forth. She was moaning. She was saying something. I think it was shock, but I had no idea what was going on. It kind of sounded like she was speaking in tongues. She was a very religious person. It looked like she was praying. Okay. I tried to get my mother's attention, and nothing. I could smell urine. It smelled like it was like a fermented beer smell urine, okay? My sister was freaking out. I tried to get my mother on her back. I tried to do CPR. I didn't know what to do. I tried to stay calm. I did. I remember trying to stay calm, but I was freaking out. I called my grandmother. She lived right next door to us. Or I told my sister to get my grandmother. She came over. She was freaking out. I called 911. And I said, my mother... I don't even remember what I said. And shortly after, the ambulance came. And it was a very rainy day in August. It was kind of cold, too. Yeah, and my father at this time, he was gone. He was at the car wash. That's what he said. He was at the car wash. But at this time, I don't know why I was thinking this, but I'm like, my dad did something. I don't know why I thought that, but that's what I felt. And I feel really bad for thinking that way. So I got a ride. My grandmother, my uncle, I got a ride from somebody. It was one of my family members who lived close by and took me to the hospital. My sister and I to the hospital. And we didn't know what to think. The hospital ride was about 35 minutes away. We get there, and my dad was there. He was crying, and he was crying. And this is how it happened. I walked through the door. I see my mother there. She was dead. And my father coming through, greeting us. What did I do at this time? I shrugged off my dad. At that time. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And seeing my mother dead. Yeah. So a lot of the family came by. You know how it happens. When somebody dies, everything happens. All the family comes out, and gives their condolences and stuff. But this is when I felt like my dad and I got closer. Because my dad and I had been at odds with each other, especially with me, going through puberty and going through his anger issues, and with him going through his anger issues, and yeah, then after that, it was just a lot of emotions. My dad, I don't know why. I don't want to go too much into this, but it was a very short amount of time, and he started seeing somebody in a short amount of time. and I was very angry by that. Very angry by that. I didn't even have time to really get over it. You know, I knew it was wrong for him to move on so fast, but he did, and this led to us moving away to South Dakota. And you know, my dad's companion, she was nice to us. You know, she was nice to us, and it was a good experience out in South Dakota. Actually, I actually would love to live out there again. I really enjoyed it out there. So let's talk about that a little bit. So at this time, for some reason, I was going through a phase. I was like going through a rapper phase. You know, I was into hip hop, and I was really getting into it. You know, I remember Master P. I was getting into Master P and Snoop Dogg, and you know, I had, for the first time in my life, I had my own room at 16. My own room. You don't know how it feels until you get your own room if you've lived without sharing it with somebody for a long time. And it was liberating. Holy cow. And I had my own internet. I had my own computer. I had AOL. You know, you had to ask for permission back in the day. We had to ask for permission, but there were times where I snuck on there, you know. I was experimenting with websites, you know what I'm saying? But it was interesting, man. You know, I met a lot of cool people out there. There's one guy, he was from Czech Republic, and I befriended him, and his name was Nazim. He was a really cool guy. And there was another guy, I think his name was Scott, and I remember him. He had like white patches in his hair. But he brought me around all these places in South Dakota, and he brought me to this laser tag place one time. And I remember getting some nachos with him, and he was a cool guy, man. You know, I felt like I was making friends for the first time out of my whole life, just making friends and getting a little bit closer with people. Because back then, I couldn't really have friends for some reason. I couldn't really have friends. I couldn't stay out. I always had to stay at home all the time or play around in the specific area that we lived in. Well, anyways, it was good. It felt good. And at this time, I was calling myself Jay. You know, I didn't like my name Jamie. I wanted a cool name. I wanted to be called Jay. And that was a persona that I wanted to take right away to this new high school in South Dakota. Jay. And I'd lived there for a year, guys. You know, things didn't happen between my dad and the partner, so we had to move back. One more thing before I leave off with the South Dakota bit was that that there was this time that I was hiking up this small little hill, right? And I wanted to explore it. There was like a water tower up there, so I wanted to reach, you know, go on a little adventure. You won't believe it, guys. You probably won't believe me, but this is true. Oh, excuse me. This is true. I got to the top of this little hill area, and I know where it is. If you told me to find Google Maps, I can find it. But on top of this hill, I saw, in my mind's eye, and I know what I saw, was a mountain lion, and it was looking straight at me. My heart was pumping, but I remember something. I think I saw something on TV, or I just thought of this, and I was like, okay, I'm going to walk backwards really slow, and I'm going to keep looking at it straight on. I'm going to keep walking backwards very slowly. Not fast, very slowly. After that, I didn't see it. I think it moved away, and then I just came down that mountain or that hill very slowly back to the home. That was scary. I remember seeing that. And yeah, so more things happened in South Dakota, but it was a good time out of my life. I also had a job out there. I was a busboy at a Chinese food restaurant. And oh yeah, getting free Chinese food, that was awesome. All right, so let's move away from South Dakota. That could be its own story. So we came back. At this time, I was getting really into computer gaming. I remember Rainbow Six, playing on GameSpy, playing that. Aliens versus Predator. big box PC games. I was getting really into that, using the Voodoo graphics card. Buying that from Radio Shack. Came back, and then my dad met somebody else again. We were going to church a lot too. And they were a big influential part of my life, and it still is. I just haven't gone for a long time, but it was kind of like a second family. But anyways, besides that, my dad had met somebody again. That didn't work out, and then he met somebody else again. That didn't work out, and then he met somebody else again, and this time it worked out, and I got along with her and her kids. So I had stepbrothers, stepsisters at this time, and that was pretty fun. It was fun having, at that time, a stepbrother and stepsisters. But my dad moved out. He gave me the choice. Because my grandmother owned, that cabin that I was talking about. Same place that I lived at, grew up in. My dad gave me the choice. You can either live here by yourself or you can move in with us. So, guess what I chose? I chose to live by myself. And this was when I was 19 or 18. 17. So this was a year before my last year in high school. Fuck yeah. And that's when everything went down spiral, guys, right after this. You know what I did the first day? First day, guys. I had some contacts at my job, okay? I had some contacts at my job. I was working at Walmart at the time. And I was getting into cigarettes. I started smoking cigarettes right away. That's the first thing. Cigarettes. Cigarettes, Marlboro. And I remember that first cigarette, guys. Oh, it was good. And it made me dizzy. And everything I ate, it just enhanced the flavor. For some reason, I wanted to get a strawberry shake, smoke a cigarette with it. Oh, it was so good. And I had a friend at the time. He was my best friend. We'll get to that later. And he was a smoker, so I was hanging out with him all the time. And he wasn't a bad influence. He was a bad influence for that, in that regard, with the cigarettes. But other than that, he was kind of like a brother to me. He's been there with me through my mother's death. He was there with me through everything. And good guy. But where was I going with that? And I started smoking weed. I remember my first time smoking weed. Oh, man. And it was out of a bong, too. And I remember I got so lightheaded. And I was telling myself, okay, I'm not feeling the laughing part like you see in the TV. I felt stoned. I wanted to lay down. And guess what? I was the driver. I was the one bringing all these people to this place to try my first time smoking, right? And I met a lot of people during this time. And this is 1999, right? So I remember putting in Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album in and playing that music when I was high for the first time. Ooh! Damn! You guys don't know what you're missing. That was awesome on your first time smoking. It was awesome. And I was driving back. I was still high, and I was trying to learn how to drive when I was high. And I don't know how I got into this situation with 5 other drivers or 5 other passengers while I was driving, but I got stopped in the city by a cop. And I don't remember what I said or what I did, but I handled it beautifully, and I got us back home. I just remember what the cop said. He says, "Excuse me, I am talking." That's all I remember. And then we all went back to my place and crashed there. And then things happened after that, guys. I was just getting into all the bad stuff. All the drinking, hosting parties on my last year of school. I wasn't going to school much. I remember study halls. I had a lot of study hall curriculums. as a senior, but I was really still into my art, but I didn't practice as much. My skill in art faded during this time. I was getting into a lot of drugs, guys. Smoking. I tried ecstasy. I was snorting off weird pills, Zoloft, and I remember my first time snorting something weird like that. I don't know why we snorted that, but it burned so freaking bad. I was crying like a baby on the couch. It hurt. I remember seeing somebody getting their ears gauged in my bathroom, and it was weird. And I know a lot of people back then used me for that place. I think it was just, I felt the gratification at that time that people were paying attention to me, like I was relevant to people in school. But that was wrong. In hindsight, that was wrong. I got a lot of I had a lot of these people get in trouble. At that time, I didn't realize the consequences of being truthful, saying, yes, I saw this person here at my house. So I basically swept a lot of these people under the rug or something like that. Yeah. I got people in trouble to the point where people's families came into the police office to kind of wonder what's going on and why are all these people going to my house. And I know why these people don't talk to me now, I think, is because of that. But that's the way it is. Now, something else happens. I'm not going to talk about it. A little too personal. I'm going to skip over about 2 years out of my life after that. Let's just say I came back home. Okay, I came back home. And coming back home, all my friends had graduated. I had graduated, obviously. I had pursued something, and it didn't work out, but I came back. Okay. It did teach me some things at that time, mentally, but I went back into the grind of smoking, drinking, doing drugs. I was working at a pizza area. I was making pizzas, guys. Making pizzas, and after I was making the pizzas, there was a girl that was working there. And I think she was my first girlfriend, guys. She was my first girlfriend. My first real girlfriend. And I'm going to skip over a lot of things with this, but let's just say it didn't end off too good after a year. It was a year, guys. Just a year, but it felt like 5 years. Felt like that. We even planned to marry each other, or I wanted to marry her, and I thought she wanted to do the same and have a family and stuff like that. But there's other personal things, and I just don't want to talk about it, but it just didn't end off too good, okay? I learned a lot about myself. I was a big jackass, hard-headed jackass, and there were some things I want to talk about, but I just don't want to talk about it. Let's just say I could have had a family. I could have. Next, after that, there was a time that I was living alone in a big city, and I was living with somebody. I don't remember. I think I got it all skewed now. No, I was living in the big city, and I lost a job. That's what happened. And this little place I was renting out, it was like a studio, very small studio apartment. And I lost my job, and I this is the first time I was freaking out. Like, I'm in the city, my family's not talking to me. I feel like all my friends, have left me. There was a neighbor downstairs I was talking to pretty much at that time. My girlfriend and I broke up. It was a bad time in my life, very bad. I was going through a lot of crisis issues. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. A lot of crisis issues. So I got kicked out of that place, The neighbor downstairs snuck me into his studio, and he had two other people living there. It was very small. It was the whole place, the studio, including a bathroom, living room, and kitchen, everything is about the size of this bedroom that I'm living in. So imagine 4 people crammed together. Very uncomfortable. You get very creative on how to make your bed. It felt like you're homeless. It kind of felt like you're homeless in a way. And I remember I wasn't making any money, so I was going to the local 7-Elevens and Cumberland Farms to beg for freaking food that was outdated. I remember one of them was donuts. Another one was a couple burritos that were outdated. Chips. Outdated chips. And they gave it to me, and I was living off of that. Whatever money that I had, I was selling my video game systems. I was selling my movies. I was selling a lot of stuff to make some money to live during this time. I was living off ramen noodles. I think some tuna fish, a lot of bread and ramen noodles. I remember that. I don't want to live like that again. I'll tell you that. We're not done with this story, guys. I might have to split this up in 2 parts, but so I was living with these people, right? And I was having a lot of behaviors, man. I was trying to find a job, and I got a job working with them too. And so I was working with them at a Friendly's, and I met a lot of cool people. I was trying to fill the void of losing my girlfriend at the time, and I was not having a good time. I was not at all. And I got kicked out of there. And at that time, I had a big freak out moment. When you tell somebody you're gone with no backup plan, no car, you still have a job, but nowhere to go. That's panic mode, man. I didn't handle it too well because I pulled out a knife on this guy. And there was a bunch of people there. They were like, dude, hey. I had a knife, man. Wasn't good, man. Wasn't good. And I was lucky. I know I freaked them out. But they talked some sense into me. They could see that I was going through a crisis mode too. I think they handled it perfectly. And I do thank them for doing that. I was able to live there for another week. Very lucky. And somehow, some way, I don't know how this happened, but my friend, like I said, who I had in senior year, was reaching out to my sister to find me. And he found me, and he said he wanted a roommate. Talk about fucking things happening at certain times. Like there was a guardian angel there to say, hey, I'm here to rescue you, man. So I was living with him. And granted, I didn't have my own room. I was living on the couch. He had his own room in a mobile home. It was half of a mobile home. And the other half was owned or was rented out by somebody else. It was all good and all. I took a lot of pride in what had happened in that city from the experiences. I was starting to get a little bit of street knowledge, I guess you can say, from living in the city. So I had some pride about it. But I was still getting into smoking weed and drinking, but not as much because he wasn't into it. You know what I'm saying? So I was taking a lot of pride in, keeping the place clean and getting a little bit more responsible. I didn't have a vehicle at this time, Then his brother wanted to move in, like, all of a sudden. He came from Florida, like, all of a sudden. It happened just like that, no plan. I'm coming from Florida. So I had to share my space with his brother. And he brought with him roaches from Florida. So half of our mobile home started to become infested with roaches. Oh, that not a good time. A lot of anger towards my friend at this time too, and with him being there. And then my friend, he found an apartment, and for all of us. So we had an apartment, and he had his own room, his brother had his own room, and I still had the living room. And I didn't know where to go, guys. I wasn't making any good money or nothing. I was thankful. But what really kept me sane at this time, guys, was having the PlayStation 2 and playing this certain game called SOCOM Navy SEALs. First one and the second one. And I had the online one too. I had the online adapter, and I was playing this online, and that saved my life because it kept my mind busy. You know what I mean? It kept me busy to play this game and be good at it. And Yahoo groups was a big thing, so I was getting into the Yahoo groups, and that was fun. That was a good time back in the internet when Yahoo had the Yahoo groups, and it's just the way of the internet was a lot more fun, a lot more interactive back in the day. But I was using it for finding girls, finding women. And so back then, for some reason, I thought I was hot shit, and I thought I was the best looking guy around. I hate to say it, guys, but that's how I was back then. I don't know if it was the drugs or whatnot, or I was getting successes though. Women were responding to me, and I was getting a woman to come over, and I met a lot of nice women, man. Whew. Damn. But what had happened? He wanted to move again. Okay, his brother moved out, and my friend met a girl, and then she moved in. Then they wanted to get a bigger place. Okay, now listen to this. This is where things go fucking off the rails. This is when things go off the rails, guys. All right, so I finally get my own room in this new apartment for the third time. Got my own room. So, and I finally got a job too. I was working with my friend. We were both working in security. It was good. It was pretty cool. Working overnight shifts. And I started getting back into smoking weed again, more so than ever. And my friends' girlfriends' friends needed a place to stay, and they also had a baby. They wanted to move in, and one of the people moving in hated my guts so bad to begin with, because I guess I had talked to them once before, long ago, and the girl's boyfriend I had also worked with at Friendly's, and he also hated my guts. So that wasn't a good combination. I said, "What? No, don't have these people freaking move in, man." But he sided with them. He sided with them on everything, excluding me smoking fucking weed in my room, and I was trying to blow it out the window through a paper towel tube with a laundry, what's it called? A laundry sheet. And it worked somewhat, some way, but I got kicked out. They didn't like the weed smell. I was kicked out right away. I had 2 days to move out. So I had asked my uncle for some money, and I started living in a motel room. And I'm no stranger living in motels. I lived in a motel room before a couple times when I was with my first girlfriend. So I kind of skipped over some of that. But back into the motel rooms, and I was living in a small room for 2 years. 2 years, very small room, a lot smaller than this room. It was like living in a closet. All I had was a microwave, one of those travel fridges and a stand-up bathroom and cable, but I was still working and I wanted to play my SOCOM on the PlayStation 2. That's all I cared about at this time. Just that. That's all I cared to live for at that time. Just to play that freaking game. And so I wanted to get my own internet for that room because they didn't have internet in those motel rooms. So, yeah, it felt good. You know, at least I had my own room now, finally. Had some time to think. And I was going through a lot of mental anguish, a lot of self-reflection about everything that has happened since my mother died. And that's a lot of pain. A lot of pain. And a lot of pain going through that. And I basically put myself through isolation. But I forgave myself. You know, I did go back to church again with my uncle. And I started to focus on things like that. And it felt better. It felt better. Eventually I found a job in a nursing home. But the rents at the motel room was too much, and I couldn't live there anymore. So one of the people from church let me live with him, and he was very domineering and very mean to me near the end. So I left. He was very money hungry, and I left, and then I started living in the motel room again. But at this time, I was trying to get my life back in order. I stopped doing the drugs, the alcohol. I started smoking cigarettes again. It was on and off, but I was moving up in this job. I was started off as a dishwasher in the nursing home, and then I became a head cook. And I lived there for a good 15 years, guys. Lived there. I worked there for a good 13, 14 years in total, okay? I had worked there for like 6, left, worked there again for 6. A lot of things happened in between, like meeting a woman there as well, a couple of them. I'm skipping over a lot of parts here. A lot of things have happened over 40 years, guys. A lot of things has happened in 40 years. Gotta put it in order. But I'm gonna fast forward a lot of it. Let's just say, you know, working at that nursing home has helped me a lot. It kind of helped me change my mind because I'm focusing on more other people than just myself. Try to help other people stay alive than myself. And this job was paying me, and I was just getting a little bit more responsible. And finally, I was able to have my own places again and experience, you know, women again, and just have my own personal space. But let's get to another defining moment. Was I had met somebody, we were falling in love, so I moved in with her. I didn't have to, but I did. And it didn't work out too well, so I moved out, lived with my dad, and then I had to find another job, and I was commuting like 1 hour back and forth each way to this job, and that job didn't work out, and then I moved away from my dad. So I lived in different towns, different cities, and didn't really settle in one freaking place at all. And finally, when I hit my 30s, I finally met somebody at this nursing home, and I had my own place again, and she wanted me to move in with her. And here I am. It's been about 10 years. I've been here for 10 years, guys. I've lived here since age 30. Now I'm age 40. And I've calmed down quite a bit. I was a very argumentative person. Doing a lot of drugs before I met her. But now I'm not doing that. I don't even hardly drink. I don't even smoke cigarettes except for the vaporizer. Have I gone soft? I've calmed down. I wouldn't say I'm soft, but I've calmed down. I realize now that it's not... I don't need to do much self-reflecting anymore, or accuse myself of doing things bad. I accept the things that I have done, and now it's just, just living life. Just live. Now, is there room for improvement? Of course. I wish that I could get a better job. I wish I had gone to college. I wish I had learned more skills in my career. I wish I had, maybe not burned so many bridges. So, but it is the way it is. We survived. I survived and lived to tell the tale of another day. And the story is not done yet. It's just quiet. Life is quiet now. Now, aging, that's a different story. Aging is, it feels weird. Like, I didn't really think of anything of it pretty much until 1990s, and I noticed I was getting taller. Noticed the facial hair was starting to come in. But my 20s, I felt young still. I didn't really think of anything of it. And still, until my late 20s, I started feeling like I'm gaining a little bit more fat. My hairline was looking kind of weird. I wasn't growing hair fast enough up here. My teeth were starting to get really crooked. Believe it or not, I had some really nice teeth. I had a nice smile. And I just didn't take care of my teeth throughout my 20s. So now I have periodontal disease, and now I want to get partials or dentures to get a nice smile now. So it's kind of hard to not smile much anymore because I have really bad crooked teeth. I notice, I can't grow hair up in here anymore. It's all patchy in some areas, so that's why I shave my head most of the time now. Facial hair doesn't grow out perfectly, but that's just part of my genetics, I guess. Yeah, I just feel a little bit more tired when I'm older. My eyesight is not as sharp as it used to be. It's still sharp, but not as sharp. Colors are not as vibrant as they used to be. I don't know. Here's to another 40 years, and like I said, it goes by fast, the first 40, but it also goes kind of slow. A lot of things can happen and will happen. That's, I guess, about it, guys, for right now. A lot of good and a lot of bad. Mainly a lot of bad, but a lot of good. A lot of good has happened recently, past 10 years. I'm very thankful for that. I've quit smoking cigarettes. I just calmed down. I feel like myself like I was pretty much before I lived on my own. And a lot of pieces to pick up and a lot of places not knowing where to go now. I'm at a crossroads. I'm at the crossroads. But we'll see what happens. Y'all have a good day. Cybervolt signing out.